atmospheric things down there. I think the room should be a little bit quieter because it's not quite as close to the street side as the other room is. But saying that, I can hear lawn mowing going on, so I hope that doesn't get picked up. So in today's video, I wanted to do a follow-up from my ranking in Harry Potter books video and rank the Harry Potter movies. I did the books video a year ago, I think, but when the whole Kappa thing came out, I put a whole bunch of videos on private because I was afraid that they would be considered for children. But I don't think anything ever really came of that, and so I'm putting all of them back to public. So that books video is going to be back available to watch, and so is like my Harry Potter facts video and my Disney facts video and stuff like that. All my other videos are just going to be back online, and so I thought I would finally do a follow-up and rank the movies. I didn't take any notes down, so it's going to be a bit rambly. I don't really always have specific reasons why I like a movie less than another. It's mostly just feeling. I did write down, I actually had to rewatch the other video, and I took down like what my books ranking was so that I can compare them. Obviously 7 books and 8 movies, so it's going to be a little different, but we'll try. So in last place number 8, I have The Prisoner of Azkaban. I know you're not going to be able to see that because it's going to be mirrored, but yeah, Prisoner of Azkaban, which incidentally is my favorite book, but it is my least favorite movie. Maybe because it's my favorite book, I don't know. I know a lot of people who have it as their favorite book and really don't like the movie, but I think it's just, it's got a lot to do, I think, with the movie itself. I want to preface this by saying that I love the movie. There's not a single movie that I don't love, but I love it far less than all the other movies, and I'm going to tell you why, and it's going to make it sound like I hate it, but I really don't. It's just there's a lot of things about it that bother me. One thing being all the adults were overacting. That was just my impression of this movie. I felt like the kids did really well, but all the adults, including the ones that had been in previous movies and that I really love, I felt were just overdoing it in this movie. This movie was too much in a lot of ways. I also didn't fully agree with casting, so this is the first movie that Michael Gambon was Dumbledore, and I do not like Michael Gambon as Dumbledore. I like him. I think he's a great actor. I don't think he's a good Dumbledore. I am fully aware of the fact that Richard Harris died, and there's nothing they could do about that, but he was Dumbledore, and I feel like Michael Gambon plays him too aggressively, and I'm not just talking about the whole Goblet of Fire incident. I felt that in Prisoner of Azkaban already, that he was not the soothing, wise man that I would go to with problems. I just don't get that like warmth from him. So that I found really disappointing. And then Black and Lupin were also not what I imagined them to be, which happens, you know. And now when I read the books, I can see Gary Oldman as Black. I still don't see David Thewlis as Lupin. Lupin in my mind looks completely different. That's not to say that I don't think they both did an incredible job. I think they're both great actors, and they're actually really good at was directed by Alfonso Cuarón, who again, brilliant director, has done many movies that I love. But I feel like his style didn't suit Harry Potter. It's a very busy movie. The music is super fast paced. That thing they do when they transfer seasons and you see the bird flying through and then hitting the Whomping Willow, that's so busy. Like, the music is really fast, and I don't know, like that. I just feel like the vibe of the movie was not a Harry Potter vibe to me. They also completely changed the scenery. Like, in the first two movies, Hagrid's hut is like a straight shoot from Hogwarts, and in the third movie they made it into this whole like far off place where they had to go down a hill, and they kept that then for future movies, but I don't know why they did that. It didn't match A, what was in the previous movies, and B, what was in my head. It's been a while since I read them. I can't tell you what it's like in the book, but in my mind that's how it always was. So I'm guessing in the book it's also supposed to be like directly across from Hogwarts and not like far off. So that kind of bothered me. And then what also bothers me is that the whole part where they turn back time and save Black from the Dementors and free Buckbeak is like 2 chapters in the book, but it was half the movie. I feel like they didn't use enough of the book in the movie. So, yeah, it's my least favorite movie. But again, I could be very biased because it is my favorite book and it's the one I reread the most. And don't get me wrong, like every time I watch it, I'm excited to watch it, but it's a bit, I don't know. It even starts off that way when he blows up his aunt. That whole scene is just like, it's like a Baz Luhrmann movie. It's so busy. Like, I don't know. It's just very it's the least Harry Potter-like movie to me of the whole series. And then in 7th place, which I incidentally is in 6th place for the book, so also second to last place, is Goblet of Fire. For this, it's more of a story thing than anything else. The fact that the book is also in such a low place for me makes it a little bit more obvious that I just don't really like this story that much. There's not much else I can say about it, to be honest. I don't think the movie was particularly bad, aside from the fact, and I talked about this in the book video, that they cut out the maze part. Well, they made the maze part far less interesting. I don't actually think there's anything wrong with the movie. I just don't love the story of Goblet of Fire in general. I did love the Durmstrang and Bobato, like that we got to meet them. And I love the Yule Ball, and there are definitely things that I think they did really well in this movie. But it's just not my favorite story. So yeah. Then in 6th place, I have the very first one, which is Philosopher's Stone. It's in Dutch. I think my first 3 movies are in Dutch, or English, but Dutch subtitles. Yeah, Philosopher's Stone is also the 3rd last of my books. So, Goblet of Fire and Philosopher's Stone are kind of ranked the same book-wise and movie-wise. Again, I think it's partly the story. it's what introduced us to the world of Harry Potter, so I will always have a special place for it in my heart, but it's not the most exciting story. But it does have a very magical feel to me, though, because it's like you get introduced to everything in the beginning, and I do like the movie. Yeah, I mean, I almost feel a little bit sad that it's so low on my list, but it's by no means because I don't love it. It's just not as exciting to me as some of the other stories are, or some of the other movies are. So, yeah, it's a little bit like lower. It's in 6th place, but I do love it a lot. It's just, the first one. And then in 5th place, I have Half-Blood Prince, which incidentally is also the same ranking for the book. It's my 4th favorite book. And again, there's a movie extra, so it's kind of like very similar. Which I actually find interesting because I like the book a lot better than the movie. I think I'm kind of in doubt between this and Philosopher's Stone on where they're ranked, because I like the story of Half-Blood Prince a lot. I feel like they teamed up the movie a little too much. It was very focused on relationships and teen drama, and I get it. Ultimately Harry is still a teenager and they still go through all that teenager stuff, but it was a little bit too much, I felt. They also, what I liked and not liked about it is that they did make it a very comedic movie. It was very funny and maybe a little bit too much because, again, not really supposed to be funny Harry Potter. But I liked it. I thought it was fun to watch. But again, I don't think it's that exciting in terms of movie. Even though a lot of stuff happens in this movie. A lot of big stuff happens in this movie. There's definitely too much, I think, of a comic relief to it. For me. They did make... Actually, it's part of the thing that I have a problem with. I felt like they tried. I think a lot of people had criticism on Dumbledore. I think a lot of people felt like he was a little too aggressive. And I felt like in this movie, they tried super hard to make him nice and approachable. And he had this like little airy-fairy attitude about him, which I felt was a little too overboard. Without, there's something on it, without spoiling too much, because I'm sure you all seen it. It's also the last one where we really see Michael Gambon. Seen briefly later on, but it's really like the last one. So, yeah, I don't mind too much. I did love the fact that they filmed a part of it in Ireland. The part where they go to the cave is filmed on the Cliffs of Moher, which is not actually that far from where I live. So that was kind of cool. And yeah, I don't know. I actually love Slughorn. I love his character in the book, but I also think he was played magically in the movie. I loved the Pensieve part where they went through all of Voldemort's memories, and I loved Slughorn's Christmas too. I thought that was such a funny scene. Overall, I actually really enjoy watching this movie, but I think similarly to Prisoner of Azkaban, but in a different way, it's a little bit less Harry Potter-like than all the other movies are. Partly, I think, because it's a little bit more focused on the teen drama than on the actual story. But, yeah, I do love rewatching it. And then next up, in said in my book video that I didn't really like the story of Chamber of Secrets, which is still true. So I'm a little surprised that it's so high up my movie list, but I think part of that is nostalgia. This movie came out when I was in college, and I skipped many lessons to go see it in the cinema. I saw it a good few times in the cinema. And then, back then, it wasn't as easy as it is now to find copies of it online. So a friend of mine, like one of my college classmates, got it for me, and I watched it to death at home on a bootleg copy. Like, I watched it so much. I loved it so much. I had only just started reading all the books. I watched Philosopher's Stone first. It came out, and my cousin was going to watch it with her little son, and asked if I wanted to come along, and I was like, yeah, sure. I was kind of expecting it to be a full-on kids movie, and I just completely fell in love with Harry Potter, so I started reading the books after I watched the first movie, and I was in the middle of reading probably Goblet of Fire, I think, when this movie came out. So I was like all into Harry Potter at that time, and really, really just loved watching this movie, and I think it's one of my favorites still because it kind of reminds me of that. There is a lot of things I really love about the movie, though. Like, I love the flying car, which is obviously also in the book, but I love how they did it. Ron was just like the best actor in this movie. I loved his whole like fear of spiders thing, and Kenneth Branagh as Lockhart is like maybe my favorite casting of all time. I think he did such a good job. So I like it. I like the movie more than I like the book, which is a lot for me to say. But I really enjoy watching this movie, and I less enjoy reading the book again. So yeah, 4th place for Chamber of Secrets. So then my top 3 is actually not hugely different from my book top 3. So in 3rd place I have Deathly Hallows Part 1. A lot of people are not a huge fan of Deathly Hallows Part 1, and I understand why. It's probably the least action-packed movie. I went to watch this in the cinema for my birthday with some of my friends who hadn't read the books, who just watched all the movies, and they found it a bit boring, and I get it, but for me, it was the movie that was most true to the book, or in this case, the first half of the book. I felt like it was really, really the book, like the traveling around, the setting up tents, which happens way more in the book than in the movie, but just like that whole thing, the fight between Ron and Harry, the searching for Horcruxes, like a lot of that part of the book was waiting, and that tension of, are people still alive? Are they gonna get caught? Like, I really loved it, and I really, really like rewatching this movie. I usually watch this one when I really want to watch Harry Potter, but I'm not in the mood for like an action movie. It's just a nice change of pace to watch this when you're kind of just chilling. I also think this is the movie where all the actors grew a lot and where they all acted very well. Like, I'll talk about that a bit more for the next one, but not everyone, I think, acted superbly throughout all the movies. And why would they, right? They were kids when they started. But I think this is like a really great movie, acting-wise, in general. With the worst ending showing like the bond they got when they were doing all of this together. So, and fair play to Hermione for staying with him when Ron didn't, and for erasing her parents' memory to put them to safety. I think that's all stuff that is just, I don't know. I think this whole movie is really, really well made and just a nice change of pace. And then my second favorite movie, which is also my second favorite book, is, oh, by the way, my Deathly Hallows as a book was my third favorite. Second favorite is Order of the Phoenix. Yeah, there are definitely things that bother me about this movie. You know, like, one, I think Hermione or like Emma Watson does the worst acting in this movie. I really do, and it's hard for me to see past it. I think it's that bad, and I don't really know why. I thought she was pretty good in every other movie. I think she's epic in both Deathly Hallows movies, but in this movie, she overacted a lot. To the point where I find it a little bit difficult to watch sometimes. And also, and I talked about this in my book video, they cut out my absolute favorite Harry Potter scene of all time, which is St. Mungo's Hospital. Like, that scene in the book is my absolute favorite, and I cannot believe that they cut it out of the movie. But there's so many wonderful things in this movie. The part where he goes to the Ministry of Magic with Mr. Weasley, and how excited Mr. Weasley gets to use the subway, the using of the phone booth to go down into the ministry, and then the actual ministry itself, I just thought was really, really well done. The whole, like, courtroom case where Dumbledore ignores Harry, I kind of got on my nerves, but it's the same in the book. And just the whole fight scene with Voldemort at the end I thought was epic. And it also introduces Tonks, who I absolutely love and who I thought was great casting. So, I do love this movie. A lot of people don't really like the book either. For a lot of people, this is like one of their least favorite stories, but it really isn't for me. The reason I ranked it so high is I have more issues with it than with some of the other movies. But when I want to watch a Harry Potter movie, it's almost always the first one I grab. Which must mean that I really love it. Like, it is, I've seen this movie more than I've seen any of the others. It's not my absolute favorite, but I've seen it more because it's like the one that I always switch on when I want to watch a Harry Potter movie. So yeah, second favorite. And then my number one is Deathly Hallows Part 2. So yeah, I just think this is a really great movie. It's a very action-packed movie. I think the Battle of Hogwarts is so well done. The music, I'm sorry, I'm sure you can hear that, it's my boiler. Just ignore it. The music in this movie I think is epic. I got a lot of goosebumps, like, and then when McGonagall calls down the statues to help fight, oh, that's so good. Like, I just think this is a really, really good movie from start to finish. From the moment they go to Gringotts to get into Bellatrix's vault, when they go to Hogwarts, through Hogsmeade and Aberforth Dumbledore's pub, and yeah, I don't know, I just think so many great things happen in this movie. It is also the Rise of Neville, which is the same in the book, but like, I loved seeing Neville just swing that sword and kill the last Horcrux. Yeah, I think this is an epic, epic movie, but I'm not always in the mood to watch it because there is so much action in it, which is why it's not the one I've seen the most, but I do think it's the best one of all of them. I just think all the characters have developed so well in it. So strange, as short as it was so epic. We also unfortunately lose a lot of really great characters again, also in the book. But I don't hate that she did that because it's war. People are gonna die. That's what happens. So, yeah. Favorite movie. So let's compare it, shall we, to my books. Just all of them. So my books from top to bottom, well, I'll compare them side by side. So Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite book and my least favorite movie. Order of the Phoenix was my second favorite book and second favorite movie. Deathly Hallows is my third favorite book and third favorite movie. Half-Blood Prince was my fourth book and fifth movie. Philosopher's Stone, fifth book and sixth movie, but I feel like they're all in the same spot because Deathly Hallows was cut in two. And then Goblet of Fire, sixth and seventh, and Prisoner of Azkaban, last. Chamber of Secrets, least favorite book, but fourth movie. So I feel like aside from a few very big differences, most of them are in kind of the same place, which I actually like because it means that I have more problems with the story than with the way they made the movie. Most movies, I think, were genuinely made really well and were very true to the book. I think the big difference for me is Prisoner of Azkaban, and it's partly, I think, because I don't think it's super true to the book, but also partly because of just a lot of things that I don't think the movie did very well. So that's it. Let me know what your ranking is down below. Please don't be upset with me if it's very different. I understand it. Like, I love Harry Potter so much. And I did just like harp on a few things, so I get that it might upset some people if you're like harping on something they love. But you know that I like adore Harry Potter, and I do love watching every single one of them, just some less than others. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.